Commander Vrel of the Kashari species had seen a lot of weird things in his 30 years of station command. Smugglers hiding contraband in their digestive sacs. Yes. Pirates trying to breach airlocks with nothing but plasma cutters and overconfidence. Absolutely. A three-way diplomatic incident involving fermented algae and the Torvan ambassador's mating display. Unfortunately, yes. But a transmission from a dead human. That was new. The message had arrived at 0400 hours, which was already offensive because Vrel enjoyed his sleep cycle. Thank you very much. His communications officer, a nervous pillion named Jex, had practically broken down his quarters door. Sir, you need to see this, Jex had stammered, his eye stalks trembling. It's from the lower decks. Section 7. Vrel had pulled his thermal coat over his scales and followed, muttering about proper protocol and how emergencies should really happen during business hours. The Outer Reach station was a massive thing, a floating city on the edge of known space where 15 different species tried very hard not to kill each other over trade disputes. It had been here for 60 years, a monument to cooperation, or at least, profitable tolerance. Section 7 was old. Ancient, really. Part of the original construction from before the human Kresh War, back when humans had been the new kids in the galactic neighborhood. All enthusiasm and terrible fashion choices. Now, Section 7 was mostly used for storage, dead electronics, old furniture, things nobody wanted to throw away but nobody wanted to look at either. The transmission signal was coming from there. Vrel stood in the communications hub, staring at the screen. The message was audio only, crackling with static, but the words were clear enough. Station Command. This is Lieutenant Marcus Webb, Human Expeditionary Forces, requesting assistance. Reactor containment failing. Jex looked like he might faint. Sir Marcus Webb died 40 years ago.
I'm aware,
Vrel said dryly. He'd read the reports. Everyone had. Marcus Webb was a legend. The human who'd stayed behind during the evacuation, manually sealed the reactor breach while the Kresh fleet closed in. Saved 40,000 lives. Very heroic. Very dead. Very much not supposed to be sending transmissions. Play it again, Vrel ordered. The message repeated. Identical. Same words, same static, same desperation in the voice. It's a recording, Vrel decided. Something in the old systems got triggered. Electrical malfunction. Jex didn't look convinced. Sir, the timestamp says this was sent 3 minutes ago. Well, that was problematic. Vrel has sent a maintenance team to Section 7. He went back to bed. Problem solved. Or at least, problem delegated, which was the same thing. Except the next morning his chief engineer, a stocky Barine female named Halta, reported that Section 7's power systems had been completely offline for 2 years. No power, no transmission, Halta said, crossing her forearms. It's impossible. The word impossible was starting to annoy Vrel. By midday the whispers had started. You know how stations are. Close quarters. Recycled air, too much time to gossip. Someone had told someone who told someone else that Marcus Webb's ghost was haunting Section 7. Ridiculous. The Kashari didn't believe in ghosts. They believed in logical explanations and proper maintenance schedules. But then the malfunctions began. Small things at first. Lights flickering in the lower corridors, doors opening and closing on their own. Temperature fluctuations in sections that had perfect climate control. Vrel's security chief, a hulking Vex named Kento, reported that surveillance cameras in Section 7 kept cutting out. Just static, sir, Kento rumbled. And sometimes there's a shape. Humanoid. Equipment failure, Vrel insisted. In every camera? Simultaneously? Vrel didn't have a good answer for that. The crew was getting nervous. The Pillions were performing blessing rituals in the mess hall. The Torvan had started carrying sacred charms. Even the normally pragmatic Barine engineers were avoiding Section 7 entirely, which was a problem because the primary coolant lines ran through there. This is absurd, Vrel announced at the daily briefing. There is no ghost. Ghosts are not real. What we have is a series of technical failures that need systematic investigation. His medical officer Tove, a wispy Seln with too many fingers and too much education, raised one delicate hand. Sir, with respect, 17 separate crew members have reported seeing a human figure in the lower decks. Same description. Tall, dark hair, wearing an old military uniform. They can't all be hallucinating. Watch me prove they can, Vrel muttered. That night he went to Section 7 himself. Alone because he was either brave or stupid, and after 3 decades of command, the line between the two had gotten pretty blurry. The corridor was cold, colder than it should be. His breath misted in front of his snout, which was wrong because the station maintained a comfortable 72 degrees everywhere. The lights were flickering. Of course they were. Vrel walked slowly, his footsteps echoing on the metal floor. Section 7 stretched out before him, all shadows and forgotten equipment. Somewhere in the distance pipes groaned. Or maybe that was just the station settling. Stations did that. Perfectly normal. Then he heard it. A voice. Quiet, distant, but definitely there. Containment failing. Need to. Manual over. Vrel's scales prickled. He told himself it was just the cold. He turned the corner toward the old reactor core, the one that had been decommissioned decades ago. Sealed, and safe, and definitely not active. The door was open. It shouldn't be open. It was welded shut. Had been welded shut since before Vrel took command. Light spilled out from inside, blue and flickering, like electricity dancing across metal. And in that light, silhouetted against the reactor's dead console, stood a figure, human-shaped, human-sized. Definitely, absolutely, impossibly there. Vrel's logical Kashari brain tried to process this, failed, tried again, failed harder. The figure turned. Dark hair, strong features, old military uniform with patches Vrel recognized from history files, and eyes that glowed with something that wasn't quite light and wasn't quite alive. Marcus Webb looked at him, and smiled. "Hey there, Commander," the ghost said, voice crackling like bad speakers. "We need to talk." Vrel did what any rational station commander would do when confronted with the impossible. He fainted. Vrel woke up in the medical bay with a headache the size of a small moon and Tova's concerned face hovering approximately 2 inches from his snout. "Sir, you've been unconscious for 3 hours," Tove said, waving a scanner over him. "Your neural patterns show extreme stress." "What happened?" "I saw a dead human," Vrel croaked. He said hello. Tova's expression suggested she was reconsidering his fitness for command. "Right. Well, your vitals are stable. Try not to see any more dead humans for the next 24 hours, please." Vrel sat up, immediately regretted it, and sat up anyway because he was the commander and commanders didn't lie down when there were ghosts having conversations on their station. "Where's Kento?" "Section 7. With half the security team. After you didn't report back, they went looking." "Of course they did." Vrel dragged himself off the medical bed and headed for the lower decks. Tove trailing behind with protests about rest and proper recovery procedures that he absolutely ignored. When he arrived, Kento was standing outside the reactor room with his weapon drawn and his usually stoic face showing something that might have been fear. The big Vrex didn't scare easily. He'd once fought off a boarding party with nothing but a maintenance tool and spite. "Commander," Kento said, relief flooding his voice, "we found you collapsed in the corridor. But sir, the reactor room. It's occupied," Vrel supplied. Kento nodded slowly. "The door sealed itself after we pulled you out. We've been trying to override it for 2 hours. Nothing works. And sir, there's something else. We keep hearing sounds from inside. Movement. Voices." "Just one voice," Vrel corrected. "Human. Male. Approximately 40 years dead and somehow very chatty." The security team exchanged looks that clearly said their commander had lost his mind. While Kento continued trying to breach the reactor room, Vrel called in Reyna, his technical specialist. If anyone could explain impossible things with science, it was her. The young Keshari had 3 advanced degrees and an annoying habit of being right about everything. Reyna arrived with a portable scanner and an expression of intense focus. She was brilliant, focused, and had exactly 0 patience for supernatural explanations. "Ghosts aren't real," she said immediately, running her scanner along the sealed door. Then she paused, frowned, scanned again. No, that can't be right." "What?" Vrel demanded. "There's a quantum signature inside that room. Active. Coherent. Sir, it's reading as human DNA patterns, but the energy state is all wrong. It's like someone's consciousness is existing as pure data, but with physical properties." Vrel pinched the bridge of his snout. "In standard, please. The ghost is made of angry computer code that thinks it's people," Reyna translated. Well, that was somehow worse. Over the next 2 days, Marcus Webb, or whatever he was, started appearing everywhere. Not just Section 7, the mess hall, the observation deck, the cargo bay. Always flickering, always translucent, but getting more solid each time. A pillion cook swore the ghost walked through his kitchen and accidentally knocked over a pot of stew. Accidentally, which meant physical interaction. A Torvin trader claimed the ghost apologized for startling her. Politely. Vrel's second-in-command, a rational Barine named Hollis, reported seeing the ghost reading a datapad in the archives. Reading. Like he had nothing better to do than catch up on 40 years of station reports. The crew was, understandably, losing their collective minds. Vrel called an emergency meeting. All department heads. He needed answers, or at least, better questions. Reyna brought files. Old files. Corrupted files from the war era that she'd somehow managed to reconstruct. I found mission reports from the battle, she said, projecting them on the screen. The station was under attack. The Kresh wanted to take it intact, use it as a forward base. Commander Yeltis ordered evacuation. Everyone got out except Marcus Webb. Vrel finished. The report played out in clinical detail. The Kresh bombardment. The reactor damage. One human lieutenant making the choice to stay behind, manually routing coolant while everyone else fled to the escape pods. The transmission logs showed his final words calm and determined, as the Kresh ships closed in. Tell them it was an honor. Webb out. Then nothing. The station had been retaken 3 days later. They'd found his body in the reactor room. One hand still on the manual override. He'd kept the core stable for 6 hours, alone, while radiation levels climbed high enough to kill him 3 times over. The logs were 40 years old, but watching them Vrel felt something uncomfortable that might have been respect. So he's haunting the place where he died, Kento said quietly. Classic ghost behavior. Except ghosts aren't real, Reyna insisted. But she sounded less certain now. That's when Tove dropped her bombshell. I've been scanning the areas where he appears, the medical officer said, pulling up her own data. There's an energy signature. It's not biological. It's not mechanical. It's quantum entangled with the station's power grid. Every time he manifests, there's a corresponding drain on our energy reserves. Minimal, but measurable. He's feeding off the station? Vrel asked. Or existing through it. Sir, I think he's been here the whole time. 40 years. Just not visible. Not coherent. But something changed recently. Something gave him enough power to manifest. Reyna snapped her fingers. The new quantum relay. We installed it in Section 7 3 weeks ago to boost long-range communications. It uses quantum entanglement for faster-than-light data transfer. And if a human consciousness was already existing in a quantum state, Tove said slowly, it would give him an anchor point. Reyna finished. A way to stabilize, to become visible, maybe even physical. Vrel looked at his team. His brilliant, terrified team. So we accidentally turned on our ghost. Essentially? Yes, sir. Fantastic. Just fantastic. The manifestations grew stronger. By day 3, Marcus Webb was solid enough to trigger proximity sensors. By day 4, he left fingerprints on surfaces, actual scannable fingerprints that matched his personnel file from 4 decades ago. The crew panic reached critical levels. The Pillions were threatening to leave. The Torvin demanded hazard pay. Even the stoic Barine were filing formal complaints about working conditions. Vrel tried to maintain order. But how do you tell people to calm down when a ghost was using the communal coffee maker? Yes, that had happened. Webb apparently missed coffee. The Pillion who'd witnessed it had screamed for 10 minutes straight. Then came the incident in the cargo bay. A loading crew was moving containers when one of the anti-gravity lifts failed. 2 tons of equipment started falling toward a young Cellon worker who'd frozen in terror. Marcus Webb appeared between them and the cargo. Not flickered, not shimmered. Appeared, solid and real, and caught the containers with his bare hands. The cargo hit him. Should have crushed him. Would have crushed anyone. Instead, there was a flash of blue light, and the container stopped. Hovered, suspended in midair by nothing but Webb's outstretched arms and what looked like pure willpower made visible. He lowered the cargo gently to the deck, turned to the shaking Cellon worker and said, "You okay, kid?" The worker nodded, too shocked to speak. Webb smiled, flickered once and vanished. The entire cargo bay stood in absolute silence. Kento's voice came over Vrel's communicator, shaking slightly. "Sir, you need to come to the command center. Now, we just received a priority alert. Long-range sensors detected a fleet approaching our position. What kind of fleet? Vrel asked, already moving. Crash Dominion, sir. 12 warships. Heavy class. They're headed straight for us and sir, they're hailing us. They want to talk about Marcus Webb. Vrel stopped walking. The pieces were clicking together in his head, forming a picture he really didn't like. The ghost wasn't the problem. The ghost was the warning. Whatever Marcus Webb had come back from the dead to do, whatever cosmic joke the universe was playing, it was about to get a lot worse. And something told Vrel that this time, they were going to need their ghost. The command center was chaos. Screens flashing red. Alarms blaring. 12 Kresh warships on approach. And nobody had seen a Kresh fleet in 30 years because they'd lost the war and supposedly learned their lesson about invading peaceful space stations. Apparently not. Vrel burst through the doors, Kento right behind him. Status report. Hollis looked up from her console. All 4 arms working different controls. They're 2 hours out. Moving fast. They've been broadcasting the same message on repeat. They claim they're tracking a quantum anomaly originating from this station. They demand we surrender it to them immediately. The anomaly being? Vrel asked, though he already knew. They didn't specify, but sir, the quantum signature they're describing matches our ghost perfectly. Of course it did. Because things weren't complicated enough. Raina was at the science station, her scales pale. Sir, I'm reading something else. The quantum fluctuations around the station, they're increasing. Whatever's happening with Webb, it's accelerating. He's pulling more power from the grid every hour. Where is he now? Vrel demanded. Reactor room, Kento said. Same place you found him. He's been there for the last hour, just standing there, waiting. Vrel made a decision that was either brave or catastrophically stupid. I'm going to talk to him. Sir, that's not safe, Kento protested. Nothing about this situation is safe. But that fleet is coming for him, which means he has answers. I'm getting them. This time, the reactor room door opened easily. Almost welcomingly, the blue light was brighter now, pulsing like a heartbeat. And standing in the center of it all, looking more solid than Vrel had ever seen him, was Marcus Webb. He looked exactly like his personnel photo. Early 30s, dark hair slightly too long for military regulations. Strong jaw and eyes that had seen too much. The uniform was crisp, perfectly pressed, like he'd just stepped out of a supply depot instead of death itself. Commander Vrel, Webb said, his voice clear and strong. No crackling static. Thanks for coming. I know this has been, well, weird. Weird, Vrel repeated flatly. You've been dead for 40 years, you're haunting my station, and now a Kresh fleet wants to collect you like some kind of paranormal specimen. Weird doesn't quite cover it. Webb had the audacity to laugh. It was a good laugh, warm and genuine. Yeah, I can see how that might be inconvenient. Listen, I need to explain some things before they get here, and I need you to not freak out. Can you do that? I fainted the last time we talked. Right. Try not to do that again, we don't have time. Webb walked closer, and Vrel noticed something shocking. The human cast a shadow, had weight. When his boots hit the deck they made sound. He wasn't a ghost anymore. He was real. How are you doing that? Vrel whispered. Your quantum relay, Webb explained. It gave me an anchor point. For 40 years I've been stuck between states. Not alive, not dead. My consciousness got trapped in the reactor's quantum field when I died. The radiation, the energy release, the quantum fluctuations from the core breach, it all happened simultaneously. Instead of just dying, I got scattered, burned into information, data. A ghost in the machine, literally. Raina's theory had been right. Vrel wasn't sure if he should feel vindicated or horrified. When you installed that relay, Webb continued, it created a stable quantum channel, gave me something to latch onto, something to pull myself together with. I've been slowly reconstructing myself, remembering how to be solid, how to be real. Why now? Vrel asked. Why not stay hidden? Webb's expression darkened. Because I'm not the only thing that got pulled through. When your relay activated, it opened a door, and something followed me back. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. What followed you? Vrel demanded. The Kresh have been experimenting with quantum weapons, consciousness transfer technology. They were working on it during the war, trying to create soldiers who couldn't die, who could transfer between bodies. I found out about it. That's why I stayed behind. It wasn't just about the reactor. There was data in the station core, Classified research about their program. I was supposed to destroy it. Did you? I encrypted it. Locked it behind quantum keys that would require someone like me to access. Then I died before I could finish the job. The data's still here, Vrel. In the station's core systems. And the Kresh know it. They've known for 40 years. They've just been waiting for a sign that someone could unlock it. You, Vrel said. Me. When I manifested, my quantum signature lit up like a beacon. They know I'm here. They know I can access the data. And they want both. This was bad. This was very, very bad. Vrel's communicator chirped. Tov's voice came through, strained. Sir, we have a problem. Multiple crew members are reporting seeing things. Shadows. Movement. Things that aren't Marcus Webb. Webb closed his eyes. They're here. The things that followed me. Echoes. Fragments. When I came back through, I left cracks in the barrier. Other quantum entities. They slipped through. They're not stable like me. They're angry. Confused. Dangerous. Perfect. Vrelo muttered. Ghosts. Plural. The command center erupted with voices over the comm. Reports flooding in from all sections. Apparitions in the corridors. Equipment going haywire. Power fluctuations spreading through the entire station. The crew was divided. Vrel could hear it in their voices. Some blamed Webb for bringing this nightmare to them. Others argued he'd saved that Seln worker that he was trying to help. Hollis's voice cut through the chaos. Commander, the Kresh fleet is hailing us. They're demanding we hand over Marcus Webb and all quantum research data within 1 hour, or they'll take the station by force. Vrel looked at Webb, the human who'd died saving thousands, who'd been trapped in a nightmare state for 4 decades, who'd just told him that an invasion fleet was coming and supernatural entities were loose on the station. What do you need? Vrel asked. Webb blinked, surprised. You believe me? I saw you catch 2 tons of cargo with your bare hands. I've got Kresh warships demanding your head, and my medical officer is reporting ghost sightings throughout the station. At this point, I'll believe anything, so I'll ask again, what do you need? Webb straightened, and for a moment Vrel saw the lieutenant he'd been. The soldier who'd stayed behind. I need access to the core systems. I can purge the other entities, send them back through the quantum channels, but the data, the research, we can't let the Kresh have it. If they complete their consciousness transfer program, they'll be unstoppable. Can you destroy it? I can do better. I can use it. The research works both ways. If they want to weaponize consciousness transfer, I can show them why that's a terrible idea. Webb's smile was sharp and dangerous. I've had 40 years to think about this. To plan. They think they're coming to capture a ghost. They have no idea what I've become. Kento's voice came through the comm. Sir, the entities are getting more aggressive. We've had 3 injuries. Whatever you're going to do, do it fast. Vrel made his choice. Trust the ghost or surrender to the Kresh. It's not much of a choice, really. Reyna, give Webb full access to the core systems. Kento, seal off the affected sections. Evacuate civilians to the upper decks. Hollis, prepare all defensive systems. We're not handing over anything to the Kresh. Sir, we can't fight 12 warships, Hollis protested. We won't have to, Webb said quietly. I will. Vrel looked at the human, solid and real and glowing faintly with quantum energy. What are you planning? Webb's grin was absolutely feral. They want their ghost. I'm going to give them a haunting they'll never forget. But Commander, you need to understand something. When this is over, when I do what needs to be done, I probably won't be coming back. Not like this. Not solid. One crisis at a time, Lieutenant. Vrel said. First we save the station. Then we worry about keeping you corporeal. Yes, sir, Webb said, and headed for the door. The storm was coming. And the ghost was ready. The Kresh fleet dropped out of quantum space like a hammer through glass. 12 warships, each one bristling with enough firepower to crack a moon in half. Their hulls were black, angular, covered in weapon ports that glowed an ugly red. They'd been humanity's nightmare during the war, ruthless and efficient, until the combined Allied forces had pushed them back to their own territory. Now they were back, and they looked angry. Shields up, Vrel ordered, his voice steady despite the fact that his stomach had relocated somewhere near his feet. All defensive systems online. Evacuate non-essential personnel to the core sections. The lead Kresh ship, a massive dreadnought that looked like someone had weaponized a bad attitude, moved into position directly ahead of the station. Its commander appeared on screen, all sharp angles and cold eyes. The Kresh were reptilian, scaled, and efficient, with faces that evolution had clearly designed for scowling. Outer Reach Station, the Kresh commander hissed. I am War Leader Threx of the Dominion Fleet. You are harboring stolen property. Quantum Signature Delta 77 Web. Surrender it immediately along with all classified data from the Human War Archives, or we will take your station apart, piece by piece. Vrel exchanged glances with Hollis. That's not happening, War Leader. This is neutral territory. You have no jurisdiction here. We have 12 warships, Threx replied. That is all the jurisdiction we require. You have 5 minutes to comply. The screen went dark. Sir, they're charging weapons, Kento reported, his massive hands tight on his console. Multiple targets locked on our shield generators. Of course they are, Vrel muttered, because today wasn't complicated enough. Where's Webb? Here, came a voice from behind him. Marcus Webb strode onto the command deck, fully solid now, looking like he'd just stepped out of a recruiting poster. His uniform was crisp, his expression focused, and there was something in his eyes that made even Kento step back slightly. This wasn't the friendly ghost who apologized for scaring people. This was the soldier who'd held a reactor core together with his bare hands while dying. They want the weapons cache, Webb said without preamble, moving to the tactical display. During the war, I was part of a Black Ops team. We found a Kresh research facility, hidden in deep space. They were developing quantum weapons, consciousness transfer tech, things that violated about 15 different galactic treaties. We raided it, grabbed the data, and I encrypted the location coordinates along with all the research. In the station's core, Reyna said. In the station's core, Webb confirmed. The coordinates lead to a weapons cache that could restart the war. Advanced quantum bombs, reality fracture missiles, stuff that makes standard antimatter look like firecrackers. They've been searching for 40 years. My quantum signature is the key to unlocking that data, so we destroy it, Vale said. Already tried. The encryption is tied to my consciousness. Kill me, the data becomes inaccessible forever. But they don't know that. They think they can extract it by force. The station shuddered as the first volley hit. The shields held, but the strain indicators immediately jumped into yellow. Shields at 70%, Hollis reported. Sir, we can't take sustained fire from 12 ships. Will last maybe 20 minutes. Webb was studying the tactical display with the intensity of someone who'd done this 1,000 times before. Your defensive grid is good, but your firing pattern is predictable. They're targeting your shield generators because you're protecting them with overlapping coverage. Smart, but it concentrates their fire. And you have a better idea? Vrel asked. Yeah. Give me tactical control. The entire command deck went silent. Jex's eye stalks went rigid with shock. Kento's hand moved toward his weapon. Hollis looked at Vrel like he'd suggested they all jump out an airlock for fun. You want us to trust our defense to a ghost? Kento rumbled. I want you to trust it to someone who spent 8 years fighting these particular enemies, Webb shot back. I know their tactics, their patterns, how they think. You're defending like this is a pirate raid. This is a military operation. Different game, different rules. Another volley slammed into the shields. 60% now. The station groaned under the impact. Vrel made the fastest command decision of his career. Do it. Reyna, give him access to tactical. Kento, coordinate with him. Everyone else follow the ghost orders. Sir, this is insane, Hollis protested. So is everything else about today? At least this insanity has military experience. Webb's hands moved across the tactical console like he'd never stopped being a lieutenant. Kento, rotate shield frequency to Delta 7, cycle every 3 seconds. They'll have to recalibrate targeting each time. Reyna, divert power from non-essential sections. Route it to forward batteries. Hollis, I need firing solutions on these coordinates. Numbers scrolled across the screen, precise and deadly. Those are empty space, Hollis said. Those are where their ships will be in 40 seconds. Trust me. The Kresh fleet moved exactly as Webb predicted. Their dreadnought advanced, flanked by 2 cruisers, while the rest spread into a containment formation. Classic Dominion assault pattern. Fire, Webb ordered. The station's weapons lit up space. Not at the current positions but at the empty coordinates Webb had specified. For 3 seconds it looked like the worst tactical mistake in history. Then the Kresh ships moved into those exact positions, and the station's fire caught them dead center. 2 cruisers took direct hits. Shields flaring, hulls buckling. Again, Webb said. already plotting the next firing solution. They'll split formation now, try to divide our fire. Kento, concentrate shields on the starboard side. Hollis, prepare torpedo spread. Pattern Gamma. We don't have a pattern Gamma, Hollis said. You do now, I'm uploading it. The battle became a dance. The Kresh would maneuver, and Webb would predict it. The station would fire, and enemies would fly directly into the barrage. It was like watching someone play chess against opponents who didn't realize all their moves had been memorized decades ago. But 12 ships were still 12 ships. Shields at 40%, Kento reported. They're adapting. Changing patterns. Of course they are. Threx was always smart. Webb pulled up a schematic of the station. Vrel, I need you to trust me on something crazy. Crazier than putting a ghost in charge of our defense. Much crazier. We're going to drop shields on the port side for exactly 4 seconds. Every officer on the deck turned to stare at him. That will let them destroy half the station. Braina said slowly. It'll let them think they can destroy half the station. Kento, when I give the signal, drop port shields. Hollis, the moment they commit to that attack vector, fire everything we have at their dreadnought. All power, all weapons, one Vrel saw it then. The trap, the gambit. It was brilliant, and suicidal and absolutely something a human would think of. Do it, Vrel ordered. The port shields dropped. The Kresh fleet, seeing the opening, immediately redirected 4 ships to exploit it. Weapons charged, they prepared to tear through the undefended section. Now, Webb said quietly. Every weapon the station had, every ounce of power they could route, fired simultaneously at the Kresh dreadnought. The beam was so bright it whited out the view screen. It hit Threx's ship like the fist of an angry god. The dreadnought's shields collapsed. Its hull cracked. Atmosphere vented in glittering clouds. And the 4 ships that had moved to attack the station's port side were now out of position, their firing solutions ruined. Shields up, Webb ordered. Target those 4 ships. Fire at will. The station's weapons sang. 2 Kresh ships exploded outright. A third lost engines and began drifting. The 4th tried to retreat and took a torpedo spread that turned it into an expanding debris field. In 30 seconds, the Kresh had lost 5 ships. The remaining 7 began to pull back, their formation broken. Their commander's ship crippled. They're retreating, Jex said, his voice filled with disbelief. They're regrouping, Webb corrected. This isn't over. Threx is stubborn. He'll try one more push, something desperate. As if on cue, the dreadnought, damaged and listing, began moving forward again. Slower now, but deliberate. He's going to ram us, Kento said. Use his ship as a missile. Webb nodded. Yeah, that's exactly what he's going to do. And we're going to let him get close. Lieutenant, Vrel said carefully. I've been very patient with your tactics, but letting a dreadnought ram the station seems counterproductive. We're not letting it ram us. We're letting it get close enough for me to board it. The deck erupted in protests. Webb raised his hand. I can disperse myself through their quantum network. Take control of their systems from the inside. But I need to be within 50 meters. Get me close enough and I'll end this. Vrel looked at this human. This ghost. This impossible soldier who'd come back from death itself to protect strangers on a station he'd died defending 40 years ago. Fine, Vrel said. But you're coming back, Lieutenant. That's an order. Webb grinned. Yes, the storm was reaching its peak. And the ghost was about to become the lightning. The Kresh fleet was in ruins. 8 ships destroyed, 3 retreating with their hulls on fire, 1 dead in space and leaking atmosphere. It had been brutal, efficient, and absolutely terrifying to watch. Webb stood in the reactor room, his form flickering now, unstable. The battle had cost him a lot. There's one more thing I can do, he said, looking at the tactical display. Their command ship is damaged but still operational. If I disperse myself through their quantum network, I can overload every system simultaneously, fry their consciousness transfer technology permanently. Make sure they can never use this research again. Vril felt something cold settle in his chest. That would require you to leave your anchor point, to spread yourself too thin to reform. Yeah, Webb said simply. It would. There has to be another way. Webb smiled, sad and knowing. I've been living on borrowed time for 40 years, Commander. I was never meant to come back. Not really. This whole thing, being solid again, talking to people, drinking terrible station coffee, it was a gift. A chance to finish what I started. But I'm not alive. Vrel, I'm an echo. And echoes eventually fade. Kento stood in the doorway, weapon lowered. Beside him, Reina, Tove, Hollis, the crew who'd feared him, who'd trusted him. You saved us, Tove said quietly. The entities, the fleet, all of it. Just doing my job. Webb replied. Protecting this station. Same job I had 40 years ago. Some things don't change even when you're dead. Reina stepped forward, her scientific mind clearly warring with her emotions. If you do this, we lose you. The data, your knowledge, everything. The data gets destroyed. That's the point. And me? Webb shrugged. I'll still be here. Just not like this. Not solid. But I'll be in the station's systems. In the quantum channels. A ghost in the machine like I've always been. Vrel extended his clawed hand. Webb took it, shook it firmly. His grip was warm. It's been an honor, Commander, Webb said. The honor was mine, Lieutenant. Webb turned to the console, placed his hands on the quantum interface. His form began to glow, brighter and brighter. Blue light filling the entire reactor room. Hey, Vrel. Webb called out, grinning. Tell the next guy who sees a ghost on this station. Tell them I said hello. Then he exploded into pure energy. A wave of quantum force that shot through the station's systems and straight into the Kresh command ship. The enemy vessel lit up like a star going supernova. Every screen, every system, every piece of consciousness transfer technology overloading simultaneously. The explosion was visible from the observation deck. Beautiful and terrible. When it faded, the Kresh fleet was gone, destroyed or fled, and Marcus Webb was gone with them. Commander Vrel's personal log. Station Day 11. They ask me why humans terrify the galaxy. Why species with twice their strength, 3 times their lifespan, and considerably better fashion sense still give humanity a wide berth. I'll tell you why. Because we have legends, stories, heroes who die and stay dead like sensible people. Humans have Marcus Webb, a man who died saving thousands, who spent 40 years trapped between life and death, who came back as a literal ghost, just to finish his mission, who saved us all, again, and then chose to fade away rather than let old weapons fall into the wrong hands. You can kill a human, but apparently you can't stop them. Death is just an inconvenience they work around. The station is quiet now. Repairs are underway. The crew is recovering. We've sealed the quantum relay, but I've authorized keeping it on low power, just in case. Because sometimes, late at night, the lights flicker in Section 7. Doors open on their own. Equipment that should be broken fixes itself mysteriously. And sometimes, just sometimes, crew members report seeing a figure in an old military uniform walking the corridors, checking systems, making sure everything runs smoothly. I don't investigate these reports anymore. Some ghosts earn the right to haunt in peace. 3 weeks later at Aero 400 hours, Vrel's communicator chirped. He groaned, rolled over, and answered. Jex's voice came through, eye stalks undoubtedly trembling. Sir, sorry to wake you, but we received a transmission from Section 7. Vrel sat up slowly. What kind of transmission? Audio only, sir. It says, and I quote, Hey Commander, reactor's running smooth. Get some sleep. You look terrible. End quote. Vrel smiled despite himself. Log it as routine station maintenance update. Sir, there's nobody in Section 7. I know, Jex. I know. Vrel lay back down, pulled his thermal coat over his scales, and went back to sleep. Somewhere in the quantum channels, woven through the station's very structure, Marcus Webb kept watch. The human ghost had become flesh, brought the storm and saved them all. And then, because apparently humans couldn't help themselves, he'd stayed anyway. Terrifying species. Humans. Absolutely terrifying. But Vrel wouldn't have it any other way.